వెల్కమ్ టు గ్లోరియస్ ఐఏఎస్ అకాడమీ. నేను మీ సందీప్ సార్ని. ఇన్ లాస్ట్ సెషన్ we have discussed about the polity and governance. What do you mean by polity and what do you mean by constitution, and why do we need constitution, why should we have a constitution, and what is the difference between the constitution and constitutionalism, and what are the different types of the constitution, and what is the syllabus of the civil service examination, mains as well as the prelims. And we have discussed about the APPSC and TSPSC syllabus, and we have already discussed about the trends of the polity and governance, how much weightage that is coming in the examination, various examination from the polity and governance. In this session we are going to discuss this is the second session of the polity, historical background of the Indian Constitution. Historical background of Indian Constitution. And what do you mean by historical background of Indian Constitution? We have a constitution now. What is the history of the constitution? What are the different types of the acts that are passed by the British government to control the Indian economy, Indian political system? There is a history behind the Indian Constitution, and various times different acts were passed by the British Parliament to regulate the company affairs as well as their political affairs. So in this we are, if you go the history, in 1600 a few of British traders, with the permission of the Queen Elizabeth, they came to India as a traders. So the British traders came to India in 1600. After they came to India, they started establishing their own territories. They started establishing their own that trade centers. They started involving in the political and economic affairs of the local kingdoms. They instigated the one kingdom against the another kingdom, and gradually they also involved in the political and economic affairs of the local kingdoms. So the few British traders, they took royal charter from the Queen Elizabeth. Royal charter nothing but it is a permission from the king of UK. It is a permission of the King of UK. So under the royal charter, the British government, Queen Elizabeth, given the permission to few traders to establish East India Company in India to discharge the trading activities. It is only given the permission for the trading, not the political and other economic activities. So it gained a foothold. The first factory was established by these British traders in 1611 in the Musilipatnam, popularly known as Machilipatnam, Musilipatnam. In Musilipatnam they have established first factory in 1611 they have established in first factory. In second factory after few years in 1640, with the permission from the Vijayanagara rurals, they have established second trading center, that means second factory. But in Bombay they have established third factory. The Bombay came as dowry. Why? Because the dowry, Charles II got the Bombay Island as a dowry in the marriage of Catherine of Braganza. So the Britishers, they got Bombay Island as in the form of dowry. So following the Mughal war, they have established their trading activity, means factory in the Calcutta with the permission of the Aurangzeb. Like that they have established three different factories in 3 areas. So here they have established Calcutta factory, Madras factory and Bombay factory. means one trading center was established in Calcutta, second trading center established in Madras, third trading center established in Bombay. Like that, they expanded their foothold in the India. They expanded their foothold in India. And not only they involved in the trade activities, gradually they started involving in the other political and economic affairs. So the company started involving the political affairs. So why? Because their ultimate motive is to gain the lot of trading activities, means that they want to loot the India. They want to loot the India. So they want to expand their territories. They want the ultimate motive of the British government. They wanted to annex the India. They wanted to expand their territorial areas in India. So like that, there was two important different events took place in the history of India, in the modern history of India. 1757 Battle of Plassey and 1764 Battle of Buxar. In 1757, 1764. In Battle of Plassey, it is called this war fought between Britishers and Bengal king Sirajud-Dowla. So with the help of the Mir Jafar. So Mir Jafar is the commander in chief of the Sirajud-Dowla. That time the Sirajud-Dowla was the Nawab of the Bengal. So the military command, the military head of the Sirajud-Dowla Bengal province, who? Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar helped the Britishers in the form of conspiracy. They made a conspiracy for the Sirajud-Dowla to defeat the Sirajud-Dowla. Like that, Britishers, with the help of the Sirajud-Dowla, means Mir Jafar, they overthrown the Sirajud-Dowla. But later after the war, they given political authority but not economic authority. They started they started collecting the revenues from the Kolkata province, that means Bombay, Bengal province. After the Battle of Plassey, after Battle of Buxar, four Nawabs versus British, means East India Company. Four Nawabs and East India Company. In that, Shah Alam II of Mughal Emperor was defeated. So in the Battle of Buxar, four Nawabs, one of Nawab is the Mughal, and another one is from the Awadh, and another from the Bengal, and another from the Calcutta. They combinedly fought against the East India Company. East India Company overthrown the Shah Alam of II, and Mughal Emperor was defeated. But the political authority was given to the Mughal emperors, but economic authority was taken by the economic, means revenue collection and Diwani powers. Diwani means an officer in the court of kingdom. Diwan, nothing but officer in the court of kingdom. They have established their own Diwan to collect the revenues. From the provinces. So next, moving forward, so after these two important events, Battle of Plassey was the decisive victory of the British India Company under the leadership of the Robert Clive. Very, very important prelims point of view. Robert Clive was the leader of the British East India Company in the Battle of Plassey, and the defeated rulers were, they signed the Treaty of Allahabad. So after the defeat of the Shah Alam II, after these rulers, these four rulers, they were signed a Treaty of Allahabad in 1965, and in this treaty, according to this treaty, Diwani powers were taken by Britishers, means East India Company. So which allowed them to collect the revenue from the territories of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. So the Nawabs of the Bengal, Bihar, Orissa and the Calcutta, four Nawabs were fought against the Britishers. They signed a Treaty of Allahabad. Next moving forward, see here this picture. First in 1600 they came as traders, right? And after battle of Buxar, battle of Plassey and battle of Buxar, they took the Diwani powers. A Diwan was established, a officer was established in the court of the kingdom, and over a period of time, after the 1773 Regulating Act, and after 13 and after 33, 1833, 1853 and 18 with the 1853 of Government Act, they took the powers of the East India Company taken by the British Crown. So that's meant first they came as the traders. They occupied the India with the two events. They gradually occupied the 50% of India, and ultimately these possessions were taken by the British government. First traders, then they established their economic activities. They started involving the political affairs. Then they taken by the Britishers. Like that, the Britishers came as the traders, and they become the political power. Ultimately, that political power of the company was taken by the British government. So from the 1858 to 1947, the India was directly, about the 100 years, directly ruled by the British government, and another 100 years they directly ruled and indirectly ruled by the one private company. So like that, the evolution of the constitution in these two sessions, a important events took place. The important laws, important rules and regulations framed by the British government, and they all rules and regulations ultimately led to the Constitution of the India. So all rules and regulations, they were framed in different laws. They are all included in Indian Constitution. That's why there is a history behind the Indian Constitution. Moving forward, the company rule. We are going to discuss the historical background in the two sessions, that is company rule 1773 to 1858. So in this first one, we are going to discuss the Regulating Act 1773. That means regulating means British government passed a act in 1773 to regulate the East India Company activities. And this is the Pitt's India Act. Pitt is then Prime Minister of the youngest Prime Minister of the Britain, and with the help of the Pitt's India Act passed in 1784. The main purpose of this established dual government in the form of the Court of Directors, Board of Control, right? And these are came known as Charter Acts. Charter nothing but, we have already discussed in 1600, in the year of 1600, in the year of 1600, few traders from the Britain, they took the permission of the Elizabeth II, that means British government. They came to India. Gradually, they involved in the political and economic affairs. They captured the 50% of India. Those possessions ultimately taken over by the British government. So, these charter, the amendment of these charters, amendment of these charters are the Charter Acts. Charter Act nothing but amendments to this charter in various periods, in various years, and various acts passed by the British Parliament. Those amend the Charter Acts. So this is completely Charter Act nothing but they amended the Charter Acts. So moving forward, next one, Crown Rule. We already discussed. You have to remember three important events: 1600 and 1773 to 1858 and 1858 to 1947. So here East India Company came to India, and this period British Parliament controlled the East India Company. In this period, British Parliament controlled the East India Company, and here British government directly ruled the India. So the company evolved till 1773, and company indirectly controlled by the government. Here the government directly ruled the India. So these three important sections you have to remember. Next one, in next session, here the Government of India Act. In this period, Crown Rule, why we need call Crown Rule? Why we call Crown Rule? Why? Because directly ruled by Crown. That means British government. That is British government. So directly ruled by the British government. Here the government, why we call the Government of India Act 1958? Why? Because the powers from the East India Company to government of British means Britain. Though that's why it is called as Government of India Act. So here the Indian Council Act 1861, Indian Council Act 1892, and Indian Council of Act 1909. These came known as Council Act. Why? Because they provide the expansion of the councils. They established rules and regulations for the council. They expanded the membership of the council. So these acts contain the lot of provisions regarding to the councils. Council nothing but Parliament. Today we known as Parliament. Council nothing but Parliament. At the government, we are going to discuss the Government of India Act 1919 and Government of India Act 1935, and finally India Independence Act 1951, which gives independence to India. So like that, in historical background of the Indian Constitution, we are going to discuss in two sessions. That is, one is Company Rule, another one is Crown Rule. Thank you very much. We will discuss about the detailed discussion will be take place regarding the every act in the next session.